Hello, good morning. Welcome. Brillante Mendoza has wished that we begin by watching a short film he edited for us, for you, to introduce his work, his method of working, and which will be the basis, the starting point, at least, of our discussion, our conversation. First, together, him and me, mostly him, hopefully, and then with you, even more obviously, because this is meant to share with you, to exchange with you, to respond to your to your questions or your needs, if as much as we can, during the continuity of this morning. So maybe we should start. Brillante, is that okay? We start with watching this film.
By the way, good morning, everyone. So the reason why I want to start with this video is that so that you'll have an idea of how I create, how I make films back in the Philippines. It's a unique way of filmmaking style, which I think, most of you have done your shorts, you have your first feature, and all of us, we have our own way of storytelling, we have our own way of directing, our own way and our own style of creating films. But knowing how hard it is for everyone, for every filmmaker, to create a film, to make a film, I'd like to share with you, the situations that we have back in the Philippines, how I create and motivate people around me to come up with a film and with a project like this. This is my latest work. This is Ma Rosa, which was in competition last year, and this is the behind the scene of Ma Rosa. Here, it's just a short clip of how I developed the project, where I got the concept, and until finally it was shown here in Cannes. And later on, maybe we can discuss in detail, just in case you have some questions.
Aling Rosa! Ang Found Story School of Thought nanggaling sa aking mentor na si Armando Lao. Siya yung founder ng Found Story. Sa Found Story, tatlong prinsipyo ang sinusunod. Unang-una, dapat ang kwento referential. Ibig sabihin, dapat galing sa isang tao nag-exist na tao. Yung kwentong pagbabasihan ng screenplay. Kasi ang pinanggagalingan ng found ay yung buhay. Pangalawa, kailangan naturalize. Ang isang kwento, kailangan kapag ginawa siya, hindi siya yung parang set up o hindi siya parang choreograph. So yung commutation ng director o ng mga filmmakers dapat totoo siya kasi base siya sa totoong buhay, base sa totoong pangyayari. At ang pangatlo, dapat socialize. Ibig sabihin, ang kwento, hindi lang siya nangyayari sa isang tao o base sa kanyang eksperyensya. Ibig sabihin, although nagkukwento ka ng personal na kwento ng isang character, community-based pa rin yung kanyang issue. Kasi dito siya nabubuhay, dito siya nakikipag-interact sa ibang mga tao. Kaya siya naging ganun, naging specific siyang ganung klaseng tao dahil sa kanyang komunidad. 4 years ago, before I did this film, may nakilala ako isang tao na na-involved sa ganitong klaseng situation, and I thought it was interesting story kasi ang daming pwedeng sabihin nung kwento niya. Hindi lang siya personal na kwento, kundi kwento ng bayan, kwento ng mga Filipino especially, lalo-lalo na sa ganung klaseng class. Parang nasundan ko yung buhay ng mga taong ito, at nung nag-research ako, kasama ko yung writer ko, naalaman namin yung katotohanan, yung nangyari, yung experience nila, pati yung encounter nila dun sa mga corrupt na police.
In-invite ni Direk yung referent namin, yung mag-asawa. Then doon na nag-take off yun. So after nung interview, binalikan ko sila doon sa Quezon City para makita yung lugar nila, kung saan sila nakatira, ano yung environment na ginagalawan nila.
Ang pamilya nito ay binubuo ni Julio Diaz, ni Jacqueline Jose, ni Andy, ni Jom, saka si Felix, okay? And then we have a group of mga police, no? Si Baron, si Mon. We are portraying a certain kind of group of people. It so happen na mahirap sila. And kailangan malaman natin yung community nila para may present natin at may pakita natin yung katotohanan, yung totoo. Kaya lang, artista kayo. May tendency i-arte nyo, may tendency gawin nyo, may tendency pag-aralan nyo. So, yun ang importante. Mapag-aralan natin na magmumukha siyang totoo, na hindi kayo nagmumukhang umaarte. Paano ito gagawin? Paano ito mangyayari? Na mapoportray niyang realistic pa rin at the same time ang kanyang performance. Importante, una siguro maniwala siya. Maniwala siya sa kanyang ginagawa, sa kanyang karakter. Na hindi siya yun, kundi yung character lang na pinaportray niya. At the same time, paano mo gagawin na maniniwala ka sa isang character? Paano mo makikilala ang isang character? Kailangan buhayin mo siya. Kailangan magkaroon ka ng immersion. Kailangan alamin mo ang buhay niya na nangyayari talaga sa kanyang paligid. Paano siya makipag-interact sa kanyang family, sa kanyang community, sa kanyang personal na buhay.
We're here for, to immerse our characters. We're doing character work.
Ito kami ngayon sa Mandaluyong Police Station para sa immersion, para ma-familiarize yung place. Dahil most of our scenes dito gagawin.
Can you tell us something about your character?
I don't know because I don't have script.
Ayaw niya talaga na may script yung mga artista kasi bigla sila magbabox. So nagiging more on memorization instead of emotion talaga may ilabas sila in realidad. Ang ginagawa, bibigay lang yung situation, mga sample of lines, and then bahala na yung mga artista.
Wala lang, alam ko lang nagpupush ako, nagtutulak, pandagdag lang sa kita, pinaaral na kolehiyo, may mga anak, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 na anak, may asawa, electrician, yun lang, may sari-sari store, that's our source of living. Gusto niya talaga yung initial reaction towards the scene. So, situational lang ang bibigay niya. Tapos you act accordingly. Kasi ayaw niya ng acting. Gusto niya kung ano lang yung maisip mo on that particular situation. Instinct lang ang gusto niya pagganahin. No acting requirements.
I have a question about the abundance of female actresses here at the Fest. Why did you select Jacqueline Jose from Ma Rosa?
She's the film. I mean, have you seen the performance she gave?
No.
She broke my heart.
Everybody heart, actually.
At the end of that movie, that vision that she has and her reaction to it while she's eating those 4 white balls.
Exactly.
Bottom line, that's a big time leading role.
We found her to be a wonderful, wonderful leading actress, a master of her skills. Regardless of what the rules are in this festival. It was not a supporting character. It was an absolutely beautiful, beautiful performance for a lead actress. That's why she got it.
But behind that, yung acting nila, yung performance nila, it matters yung attitude. Kasi yung behind the scene, on how they deal with the role, how they deal with the production staff, importante yun sa akin. Kasi ang paggawa ng pelikula is a teamwork, no? Hindi pwedeng director lang. Ang director, ito yung tinatawag natin captain of the ship. Pero yun mo sabihin, hindi mo naman mapapaandar ang ship kung mag-isa ka lang. So kailangan mo ng tao, kailangan mo ng artista, kailangan mo ng staff, kailangan mo ng crew. So collaborative effort yung paggawa ng pelikula. Kaya importante yung pag-uugali ng bawat isa sa isang production, para sa akin, it really matters.
Nakuha na natin 18 to 35, yung isang camera, puro, tsaka yung isa sa akin, puro yun lang. Tapos yung isa parati lang yung wide. Kasi yung wide, ang tightest lang naman natin, 35mm. Pagka sinabi na rin mas tight, malapit lang tayo. Huwag na tayo magpalit ng 85 kasi sa sinehan, masyadong ma-jerky yun. Ang sakit sa ulo.
Ang gusto ko dun sa cinematography, tinatawag ko dito sa aesthetics na to, yung found cinematography. Para siyang documentary. Kumbaga, tinatanggal ko yung glamour side, no, ng cinematography. Parang sinushoot mo yung, pinifilm mo yung katotohanan na yung nangyayari sa paligid mo, the way, how you see it, no? Hindi yung parang glamour or masyadong maraming embellishment. I don't go for that. So, kasi ang sa akin is realism. Hindi kami gumagamit ng maraming ilaw, although may ilaw, may setup. Okay, pero hindi gumagamit ng, hindi namin ginagawang unnatural yung setup. As much as possible, malapit ang lighting sa kung anong nangyayari, kung ano yung binibigay ng panahon. So, importante na ma-capture mo yun. Kasi nga, gusto natin maging realistic. Yung handling ng camera, okay, alam nito ng cinematographer ko, hindi tapos ako magamit ng tripod. Parang, it's always from the point of view of somebody looking or watching the characters. So, ganun palagi yung feel ng pelikula. Parang sinusundan mo sila, parang tinitignan mo yung mga characters.
Okay, nandito tayo ngayon sa bahay ni Rosa. Sineset up natin yun. Rika. So bali, nagpapalagay kami ng kortina para sa eksena ni Direk mamaya. Tapos, ito, ayusin natin para at least makagalaw sila ng tama na doon lang sa bahay. Ayun.
Yung mga location namin, actual location, hindi kami nag-build ng set. Marami kami mga tinatanggal, marami kami dinadagdag. Kasi itong mga dinadagdag namin o tinatanggal namin, ibig sabihin hindi sila nakakatulong dun sa character o dun sa community na gusto namin ipakita. Meticuloso din ako in a way kasi kahit nasabihin mo pang existing ang production design from costumes to set and props, dapat tama itong mga to. Tama na aakma ito sa lugar, sa character, at sa mismong environment. Kasi naniniwala ko ang production design pwedeng magkwento. Pwede siyang magkwento sa kulay. Pwede siyang magkwento sa setup. Masikip ba ang lugar? Maluwag ba? Claustrophobic ba? Overpopulated ba? Ano ang gustong sabihin ng environment? That in itself is a story.
Ready! Break! Action!
Sa production design, ang gusto natin mangyari ay yung makita yung character din. Binibisa natin ng mga character para maging malapit sila sa character sa totoong buhay. So kapag nag-blend sila sa community, alam mong they belong, hindi sila nag-stand out. Tatlong proseso ang pagdadaanan ng pagkukwento. Okay? Sa story development, sa direction, this is sa production, and then yung finally yung sa editing. So sa editing, napaka-importante because yun na yung final process ng storytelling.
Usually, yung ibang editing assemble lang. Dito sa found editing, storytelling talaga siya. Hindi siya yung basta kung ano yung nasa script, yun na yung susundan. Pwede kang mag-transpose from one scene kung kailangan siyang, kung mapaaga ba siya or mapalate ba siya para magkaroon ng moment, pwede mo siyang i-transpose. Kung ang writer nag-research, tapos saka siya nagsulat, ang editor, yun yung mga footages. Kailangan panoorin niya lahat yun. Yun na yung research niya. And then, he will tell the story again based dun sa mga nakita niyang footages.
Okay, sa editing kasi, yung tinatawag nating found editing. Okay, importante sa akin yung hooking. Ibig sabihin kapag nanonood ka ng pelikula, parang hindi siya cutty. Depende kasi sa pinukwento mo. At saka depende sa mood na ine-evoke mo. Gusto mong i-evoke dun sa eksena. Kung ang eksena hindi niya kailangan i-cut kahit na nakatalikod ang character, huwag mo siyang i-cut kasi hindi ka naman after dun sa makita mo yung mukha ng character, kundi after ka dun sa situation, dun sa isang eksena. So there are a lot of times, ang eksena, ang scene, mahaba talaga. Dito, we follow the character. So hindi mo kailangan na mag-cut just to have a reverse shot. Wait gusto ko yung basura, nakatapat siya dun sa basurang dumadaan.
Sa truck ng basura.
Sa truck ng basura. Parang, Aling Rosa, tumingin siya. May basura ka dyan? So, dapat medyo prominent yung yung sumigaw para tumingin siya. Parang gano'n. Sa sound design at saka sa sound mix, I always make it a point na yung sound is a character in itself. Kasi gusto kong maramdaman at marinig yung lugar kung saan man nangyayari ang kwento.
Ma'am, kulang po ako ng 25 cents. Ayoko. Ay ma'am, na-short lang po sa barya.
Grocery sound. Oo.
Ambient.
Parang ambient, papataas.
Opo.
A lot of times, kapag nanonood tayo ng pelikula, tinatanggal yung sound, yung environment. So, naririnig mo lang yung boses ng mga artista o ng mga character, which I don't agree. Okay, kasi lalo kapag nasa Pilipinas, kaya maingay talaga dito sa atin, di ba? Part yun ng character natin part yun ng pagkatao natin bilang Pilipino. So dapat makapture yun. So hindi ko tinatanggal yung ingay, yung sound.
Metro Manila and most of Luzon and Visayas.
Okay.
Musical director.
Ang music ang gusto ko kasi parang diegetic siya. Parang nanggagaling din siya sa lugar. Okay, parang in-explain ko sa aking musical director na sa music, okay, ayaw ko rin siyang pakinggan, kundi gusto ko siyang maramdaman. Taas pa rin yung pasok ng music. Hindi siya nag-creep in. Sana ano pa siya.
Sige.
Kasi ang gusto ko, naririnig natin pa rin yung usapan ng mga tao. Parang, Aling Rosa, may basura ka dyan? Oy, pengi naman. Hi! May ganon. Iba-ibang level ng mga tao. Then, dahan-dahan na siya pumapasok.
May natural kasing swelling yung music. Tapos, ang problema sa music ko, kung hindi siya, is, mangyari pa, kaya medyo annoying. So, siguro kung i-mix na,
Gaganon siya. Gaganyan siya. Kahit na creeping in siya, dahil tumatama siya dun sa mataas na
Yes.
Parang ang taas na kagad. Pero actually, creeping in na kayo. So siguro, yung parang gumaganon siya. Tapos pagdating na dun,
nung high part ko,
iganon mo na.
na high part din.
So yung music, dapat nag-a-add siya dun sa mood. Nag-a-add siya dun sa gusto mong mood dun sa scene. Hindi yung parang nag-aagaw siya ng pansin. There are times na minsan ang ganda-ganda ng music, so you just listen to the music and you don't watch the scene anymore. So dapat ang music, kumbaga, kasama siya doon sa eksena. A lot of times yung kina-counter ko ang eksena. Kapag ang eksena dramatic na siya, parang hindi mo na kailangan ng music. Okay? Kapag ang eksena hindi naman siya dramatic enough, so doon ko talaga siya nilalagyan ng music Kasi parang meron akong kailangan na ma-evoke na emotion dun sa eksena. Sa grading kasi, I talk to my cinematographer. So ito yung gusto kong mood, ito yung gusto kong feel. So kahit na umuulan, ang gusto ko, parang ang feeling mo mainit, humid. No? Pagpasok nila sa loob ng bahay, pinapawisan pa rin sila. So dapat, kapag overall, kapag nakita mo yung pelikula, kapag pinanood mo siya, parang it's warm. Kasi, bakit? Kasi nasa Pilipinas tayo. Sa grading, mas maramdaman mo yung lugar. Sometimes yung lugar, hindi nga sa pleasing to the eyes eh. Pero gusto kong makapture yon. Kasi yun yung katotohanan, yun yung reality. Diba? So dapat, ang grading, hindi niya inihiwalay yung kulay o yung gusto mo sa photography, kundi ine-enhance siya para mas maging realistic siya. Pag natapos na ang pelikula, of course, ang ginagawa ko, madalas ang ginagawa ko sa pelikula ko, pinapalabas sa ibang bansa. Bakit sa ibang bansa? Bakit hindi sa Pilipinas? Bakit kailangan ko ipalabas sa ibang bansa? Kasi gusto ko siyang mapanood ng mas maraming tao, hindi lang ng mga Filipino. Gusto ko maintindihan ng ibang tao kung anong klaseng pagkatao tayo, kung anong klaseng kultura meron tayo. Kapag nabibigyan tayo ng recognition, of course, is a reward. Pero hindi yun ang ultimate goal sa paggawa ng pelikula. Hindi para basta magkaroon ka ng award, kundi may send mo yung message mo sa mga tao, yung gusto mong sabihin. Kasi mas mataas yung purpose mo sa paggawa ng pelikula, hindi lang dahil sa awards. Nalala ko itong sa Marosa nung pagtanggap ng award kasi parang nung nasa gitna ako ng stage at nagtayuan ng mga tao at malakpak sila, parang of course ang binibigyan ng recognition yung filmmaker, ang binibigyan ng recognition yung pelikula. Pero ako, ang feeling ko, hindi ako deserving kasi ang kwento ko ay kwento ni Marosa, kwento ng mga Pilipino. Sila dapat ang binibigyan ng papuri. Yung mga taong, mga character sa pelikula ko, hindi ako. Isa lang ako instrumento para maihatid ang kwento nila. Pero dapat, at the end of the day, bigyan ng papuri, bigyan ng recognition, yung mga tamang taong dapat bigyan ng recognition. Ito yung mga character ng pelikula.
Now you have an idea on how I create films. Maybe for some of you, it's done a different way back in your country, maybe. But most of you, since most of you are independent filmmakers, you can easily identify with it. I mean, especially the documentaries would go out with just their cinematographer and maybe one or two crews, and basically you can create a film. What I'm trying to show here is that no matter how hard the situation is, no matter how how difficult and how little resources that you have, which I'm sure most of you have experienced and you are going through right now, there will always be a way. There will always be a way. You just have to be very resourceful. You just have to work hard, and you just have to have a commitment and dedication and believe in what you're doing. I'm not saying you're gonna make it easily. What I'm trying to show you is that it's gonna be very difficult. It's not an easy journey. Like what I've said yesterday, after all this recognition, I'm still going through the same situation that I've had like 10 years ago. Maybe it was more easier now to pitch with producers, but because I don't want to compromise my art, my cinema, this is the real situation in the real world. Yeah.
Thank you. Maybe the first question that is one of the questions which is raised by what you just showed us would be about script writing, because we all know script writing is part of the making of the film, in the process of the filmmaking, and the video addresses this, but script writing is also a way to raise money, to produce the film. And how do you connect the document, the product of the script writing as targeting the making of the film with what you need to share with potential financial partners, including if you know that in the end the film is not going to be what was written in the script, as it sometimes
it's really
happens.
quite challenging. It really is very challenging because whenever, honestly, up until now, whenever I develop a story, what is most important to me is that I have to gather facts first. I know I have to think of a producer somehow, and I have to think of an audience somehow at the end of the day, because we have to show the film. But first and foremost, what is in my mind is to gather facts and to create first and foremost a meaningful story where I can transcend my message, or what inspires me to create this story and to make this film. It has to come deep within me first and foremost, and believe in that, and continue believing in that, because deep in my heart, I can never sell this script or this story if I myself is not 100%, committed in the project. So yes, I am thinking about where to pitch it, how to pitch it, but honestly, in my experiences before, I've had 3 or 4 scripts that I'm developing all at the same time. I have a lot of researchers and writers who are doing different scripts. There was once where I pitch, for instance, I have a film, Lola. I've developed that script along with Service and Kinatay, and all these films actually were in competition in Cannes. But Lola never really, never made it. Kinatay never made it in all my pitches, in all the pitch that I've had, and they got, for instance, Service, but I developed Kinatay way before that, Lola way before that, and after, for instance, after the Masur, which premiered in Locarno in 2005, and that was my first film, I was thinking of doing, a trilogy about underground sex prostitution in the Philippines, because I was so inspired with what happened with Masur. But during the development stage, I realized that I've already said in my first project almost all the research that I've had, and that I might be saying again with the 2 other films I'm trying to develop. So I scrapped them. But after doing this for almost a year, because somehow you will also have a realization. And after that, I developed other scripts, but they were never accepted. But eventually they got accepted and won awards. So do not be discouraged. It's not the end of the world if your first script, or if you're talking to producers and and you're not able to make it. It's not. Of course, you'll be discouraged. It's you feel bad about it. I did feel bad about it, but I never gave up. I never gave up with my projects. For instance, with Lola, because it was an original story. It was a story of my writer who already passed away, and at one point, because it's been 3 or 4 years, and said I really wanted the script. Can I? And there was another director, because I haven't given any down payment yet. There was another director, another producer who was interested in the script. Can we just pursue with the project? And I said yes. But then after that, she came back to me after 1 year and said, no, I think it didn't push through. So you think you want to do it? And I said, why not? And then 6 months after, after winning in Cannes, 3 months after, I did it, and it was in Venice in competition. So that's, things like this happens.
Maybe to understand the environment in which these processes take place, it would make sense you say a few words about where you come from, what you were doing before, because as you said, your first feature film was 2005, the masseur.
Yeah.
You are not born with the masseur. You existed before,
Yes.
and it has to do with what happens before.
Yeah, I was a production designer before I became a filmmaker. I was in advertising. I was an art director, and I'm having a very good life in advertising. And as you know, most of you, I don't know if you've worked in advertising, and you know how's the money in advertising, and it's good, and I'm doing very well. Until one day in 2005, I was 45 years old at the time when somebody approached me and asked me if I want to make a film, and I said, why not? I could try it for one film, and then after that, it's done, because I know I'm not gonna survive making films, especially back in the Philippines, where you don't have an audience for alternative cinema. So that's what I did. But after doing my first film, which I'm sure some of you did their first short or their first feature, it's an incredible experience that you can never exchange for anything. So you know what I'm talking about, and that's what happened. So I totally gave up my life in advertising and worked, as a filmmaker. And from then on, it was an easy journey, like what I've said, but I survived. There were times where I would go home, and because I have very limited funds, I have very little money. With my first feature, I was just very resourceful. I do my dubbing. We wait until about 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the morning because everybody's asleep and there's no, there are no dogs barking, etc. And everything's like quiet. And I don't have like a sound studio. We are just dubbing inside the house. And we wait until 1 or 2 in the morning. And well, that's where I would ask my actors to come in and do their dubbing. And I would go home at 4 in the morning or 5 in the morning alone. In the busy street of Metro Manila, I was just like alone. So it's so good to travel because there's no traffic. Anyway, and I would ask myself if this is the kind of life that I would like to have. But I would sleep, well, and wake up in the morning that I still want to pursue this kind of life. So, yes, I was a late bloomer, and I didn't have this opportunity like what I said yesterday, but I suppose I was able to manage it and make 14 films after that.
But at the same time, because there is this deep implication of all your films with the reality of the Filipino, and many of them in Manila and some others in other areas of the country, so it's very locally related or nationally related. And at the same time, one might say, and one might be wrong as well, you will tell me, that it is to a large extent thanks to what happened abroad, meaning going to Locarno and being awarded the Golden Leopard, the highest award in Locarno, that opened the way to the possibility and maybe also to the desire to keep going as a filmmaker. So how did you connect your local involvement, which was very deep already and very, you can see it when you see the master, with reaching this kind of international stage you already get with your first feature?
I was, well, my background actually is mainstream. I was doing mainstream Filipino films, the melodrama, action, and I was a fan of Hollywood films. But when I did my first feature, during those times I know that I'm just watching films for the sake of entertainment. But if I told myself that I'm going to make films, I'm going to make films the way I want it. The way I would like myself to watch a film, not just for entertainment. So that's the only thing that I have in my mind. I didn't care about, about what I am not really particular that this is what I want to show about my country, etc., etc. I was just truthful about my story. I was just truthful about the real environment that existed in the Philippines, and that's what I just presented in my film. That's what I just put together in my film and in my story. So it was recognized because easily when they saw my first film, they said that, for those people who haven't been to the Philippines, they said that it's as if I was brought in your country, which I haven't been and I don't know anything about your country. So it's like bringing closer to the rest of the world whatever that you have back in your country, whatever But I'm not even at that time. I'm not even particular and aware that this is what I should be doing. I just rely on the truthfulness and being honest in my storytelling. Of course, this recognition that that I've had abroad helps me. It helped me a lot. It helped me a lot in connecting my films back home. Because I don't know if you've experienced this, but back home it's really so hard. I mean, back in your country maybe, but even in the Philippines more so. It is really very hard to connect, especially with this kind of films. It's really very hard to find an audience. It's not easy. You have to. This is what I've been doing for the past 6-7 years, is to develop an audience for alternative cinema, for this kind of cinema. It's my commitment to my country. So because I know it's not easy, and nobody will gonna do this for us. I mean, I have to act on my own. I mean, it's a very difficult journey, like what I've said. Making films is a difficult journey, but creating an audience for this kind and for this type of cinema is even much harder, because we are an artist. We are not really an educator. We're not from the government. We are not NGO. We are an artist. We are a storyteller. But I felt that is also my responsibility to create an audience for future filmmakers, for future storyteller, so that they don't have to go through the situations that I've had, when I started my first film 12 years ago.
Maybe could you quickly draw a kind of general vision of the cinema landscape in the Filipinos, because of course you're evolving in a certain environment, and I think everyone here could relate with similarities or differences with his own situation. Filipino is, among many other things, including a lot of things that I don't know, a country from which we see here a significant amount of very good films, and which are widely recognized abroad, which is not necessarily predictable. Some other, important countries in the area, like Indonesia or Malaysia, don't have the same fruitful creativity in terms of art filmmaking, but also the industry, because you have to relate. So if you could give an overview of the situation.
Well, before 2005, in the year 2000, this is like the transition period, between the celluloid and digital. So I was able to make my films in celluloid. I think 3 or 4 of my films in celluloid, and I think the digital technology somehow democratized filmmaking, not only in the Philippines but all over the world, because filmmaking became more accessible to a lot of young storytellers like you. So I think I should credit that. I think it helped a lot. It was easier now to make a film, with the digital technology. So it opens a lot of doors to a lot of young filmmakers in the Philippines. Now it is much easier, and because of the recognition, that we are getting, young filmmakers are now more encouraged. They're inspired, and that's why there have also been a lot of film festivals in the Philippines that gives financial grants. So I think we are one of the country in the world where a small country with almost no audience for alternative, but still. There are a lot of institutions, and there are a lot of festival that gives financial grants. So it's very encouraging to the young filmmakers now back in the Philippines. I think the situation now is more of how to create an audience for this kind of cinema. There was a joke just before I came when I left Manila a week ago, 3 days ago, there was a joke I read on the internet that says, in the Philippines, I feel that there are more filmmakers than the audience.
Can you? Yeah, which is scary, obviously. But do you connect by any way with the mainstream Filipino cinema industry, or are these two separate worlds?
Well, in as much as I don't want to divide the two cinema in the Philippines, I think it's really divided because there is really the mainstream audience really go for mainstream films, and mainstream films in the films they really make a lot of money. I mean, they could compete with any Hollywood blockbuster at any time, and because we have a population of more than 100 million. So imagine that a huge percentage of this 100 million goes for Hollywood films, and mainstream Filipino films at the same time.
And what is the situation? Are your films being seen in the Philippines, and how?
Of course, my films are being seen commercially in the Philippines, but they don't make a lot of money. But the thing is, my films doesn't end at the theatrical screening. They don't end there. The films that I did 5 years ago are still being shown now on different schools and universities. What I did is I partnered with a major multiplex in the Philippines, and we give special rates, special price for the students. They were the one who connects with the students, and we invite students. We involve the universities, the schools. Who send the students to the cinema so they can watch it on a big screen, and I would have talks like this. I would have film appreciation like this, and so that students would have a better understanding of how we make films. They would have and respect to filmmakers like us and see how difficult it is to make a film. It's not only to create the films, to make the films, and at the same time to distribute the films. So it is really a process, and the reason I'm telling you this is, it's not just about pitching the film, but the process that you have to go through, to make your film be seen by the right audience.
You already mentioned how important was the shift from film stock to digital, but do you have more comments about specific tools and the use of is it important for you, or just you rely on your DOP or your sound engineer to deal with that?
Well, with the digital technology, I think we just have to work, on what the technology is giving us right now. I think you cannot go against it. I mean, I know there are filmmakers who are purists, would like to stick with the old cinema. I mean, a way of making films, but you cannot really fight technology. You have to go along with it and make the most out of it, because at the end of the day, what we want is to create a film, is to make a film and tell a story. And this is the technology that we have right now. So you just have to make the most out of it, I think. Yeah. So for me, it's not really a big issue, because I was able to the transition from celluloid to digital. It was a lot harder doing it in celluloid. Especially with my style, with my aesthetics as filmmaker. We have our own way of. The reason why I show you this is just to give you an idea, how I make films. I'm not saying like I've said a while ago. We have our own way of telling our stories, and there is no right or wrong in telling a story. There is no right or wrong in the aesthetics of cinema. Okay, and this is just what works for me. You know, there are aesthetics that works best depending on your project and on your film. So,
what is your situation in the question of co-production? Have you been in a position to foreign
yes.
co-production?
I'm very lucky that my first few films were produced by a French producer who's not really like your typical producer that you have right now, because he would invest on my film. He would just like we just like talk about on how much my film will cost, and that's just it. And I'll just tell him that, oh, this is how much I need at this point, and this is how much I need at this point after filming it, and this is the balance that I need during the editing, and this is your finished product. And I was lucky to have this kind of producer, which we did films together for like we did 4 films together, and the rest were mainly produced by me. Back in the Philippines, well, just to give you a background why I can produce my own films is because I was in film production for almost 20 years before I became a director. So I am not only a production designer, I am an assistant director, I am a production manager. So I know all the dirty works. On the tricks in the business. So I make use of these tools. I make use of this experience. I maximize this experience. So I know and how much money that I have. And I think that is somehow my advantage to other filmmakers who are just a director. With me, I know my priorities. If we only have this money, I know where to put my money. If for instance, we have a special effects, and it's so expensive to have special effects. And it's so expensive to have like prosthetics, So I avoid makeup. And it suits my style, my aesthetics, because they're like, my films are like documentary, So I don't use makeup. Okay, I know a bit of prosthetics, so I do it myself. So, I've been very resourceful in a way, and maximizing my talent and everything to save, and that's what I'm trying to say. I mean, you just have to make the most of what you have. For production design, like my experience in advertising, I would create a whole forest in the studio, and I would spend millions of pesos. With my film, I can create a forest in just one corner, or maybe in my house. I don't have to go to the forest and create this, because I know that in my shot, this is just what I'm going to use. I'm not going to do a 360 degrees for that, a simple shot, and doesn't need it. So, I know exactly. Somehow it also helps me, even I'm trying to avoid it, to edit in my mind, but somehow because of the limitation, you have to work really hard, try to edit some scenes in your mind. Because I know that as a filmmaker, you don't want to edit in your mind. You want to watch it, and maybe, put the scenes together while you're watching them on during the offline or during the editing, but somehow it helps. Somehow it helps that I don't need the shot. When I review the script, okay, I think I don't need this. This is just what I need. And there are also scenes that I will just shoot myself, film myself. The film that was in Berlinale in 2008 is The Slingshot. I shot it myself. I filmed it myself. It started out as a documentary, but it ended up like a feature film. Yeah. And then it won an award, the Caligari Award in Berlinale. And I just film it myself. I used non-professional actors. I shot it during the Lenten season in the Philippines, and I put my actor together with the rest of the the rest of the people performing this Lenten rites in the Philippines. So it saves me somehow also for the crowd that I don't have to pay, for the extras that I don't have to pay. Because otherwise you have to pay like 500 people, In Taclob, the film that was here 2 years ago in Uncertain Regard, there was a big scene that I need a crowd. I need a lot of people were, evacuating. So what we did is I talked to the local government, and asked them, can you send like 1,000 people? But we're gonna give them snacks. We cannot pay them, but we're gonna feed them. We're gonna give them snacks. And what we did is during the scene, I make use of that, giving the snacks to the people, because you feed people that many inside the it's during the evacuation, so it's natural to feed them. The local government feed them. So I make use of that. I even filmed that, so it was part of the scene. So I maximize hitting two birds in one stone. The local government send the people, we feed them. I film it, and it became part of the story.
It even changed and hopefully improved the film itself. The financial condition or the material condition affects, but in a good sense, the result on the screen.
Yes, because of course, at the end of the day, when you watch this, these are big scenes, and when you see big scenes, that it's really expensive to see this kind of shots. But you shot it in a very, how do you call it? You shot it. You were able to maximize it and make the most out of it.
What would you say about not the local but the national government in Filipinos relation towards cinema? Is it doing something? Should it be doing something? Is it not doing anything?
As a filmmaker, it has always been my belief that this is the path I chose, okay, and I already accepted and realized the difficulties of making films. So I told myself from then on that I'm gonna make a film and create a film regardless of the support of anyone. So that is my what do you call it? How do you call it? Yes, exactly. Because the government, you cannot. I'm not gonna rely to the government. I will accept whatever support that the government will give me, regardless of the administration, regardless of who's running the government. But I will make the most of what they're gonna give me or what they're not gonna give me. I'm glad and happy that the chairman now of the Film Development Council of the Philippines is very supportive of alternative cinema. So we're lucky, But who knows? She will only stay there for like 3 or 4 years. After that, you'll have another person running the government or running an institution that supports a filmmaker. So you just cannot rely on them. You just have to rely on yourself. On your commitment to what you're doing. So honestly. I really, and I don't feel bad. Well, of course, I felt bad, like in 3 years, 3 years after being recognized abroad, and I don't get government support. I feel bad because when I go to other countries and I'm giving recognition, and all these awards, but back home nobody recognized me. I felt bad, but after that I move on. I realized that there's no use feeling back. The most important thing is that, you just have to go on and create your films because that's what makes you happy. Nobody should be responsible in making you fulfilled. It should be yourself.
Another potential partner, and which might affect your possibility both to make your films and to show your films and to have your film being seen, would be the medias. Filipino media. Yeah. How do you relate with them, and do you have any potential to act and change something if something needs to be changed?
Well, I think for us independent filmmakers, it's important that to connect with the media, with the local, because if they help us, if they write something about us, okay, it's going to be a big boost and a big help for our film. Okay, so I never stopped connecting with them from the time I did my first film up until now. So they're like my friends. They're like my friends, so they help me. If I don't have to spend like the mainstream studios, they spend millions of pesos, especially back in the Philippines, just to promote the film. With the social media right now, I mean, we can. It can help us. They can help us. They can help us promote our films. Especially the kind of audience that we are talking to. We are talking to the young audience. We are talking to, to the people who are interested with our films, not to the mainstream audience. No.
So it's kind of community building.
Exactly. Yeah.
So maybe you should say something about what is called Center Stage.
Center Stage is a production that I founded 12 years ago with my first feature, Masahista, and after that I did several other films under my own production, which I have like 3 or 2 person running it, including myself, and I've produced several other films, not only from my own films. I produced a film of my student Raymond, is also my student. He was in the main competition last year. The short film here in Cannes, and this film won 4 major awards. It won in Toronto and 4 other international short film competition. My other student is also I cannot say it yet now, but it's his first feature was in the main competition in one of the major festivals in the world. So I have other graduates also from my film workshops that who have had their films, their first feature, won several awards locally and internationally. So this is the production that I run with 2 or 3 other persons. It's a small production, but basically, we support independent filmmakers, especially those that I've trained.
And how do you give access to these films? I'm thinking not only theatrically, but of course we know now films have longer lives, either online or on DVDs or this. Is it also dedicated to this kind of a long-term process?
Yes, I've also connected with the local TV network in the Philippines, and they are also helping. They are also helping these filmmakers with their films. So they are shown not only in the international festival, but locally and on television. And there's other platforms that they have offered to this filmmaker. So it's really, it's quite active now and very encouraging, especially to the young filmmakers back home.
You mentioned your students, which means you are also teaching?
I don't literally teach in school, but I conduct workshops every year. So I started like 3 years ago. I didn't have this year because I don't have the time to do it, but I'm gonna do it again next year.
Is it like your own school, or is it part of a larger?
No, it is my own. I conduct my own film workshops.
This is what is called redefined cinema.
Redefined and rethinking cinema.
Mm-hmm. And how does it work? Can you say a word about the process of teaching?
Well, the process is that we follow the school of thought that I've been doing, with my films, the Found Story School of filmmaking. So that's what I would share with my students, with them, and they adopt it, they develop their script, and then they make a short film.
But it's also learning about technical skills and
basically what I've said in the video a while ago, but in a much broader scale.
Okay, so now we're going to open the discussion with you. So, if anyone has questions or comments? Yeah. Maybe you need another one is coming.
Watching Marosa for me was very mind-blowing. How
Could you please introduce yourself?
My name is Hala Lutfi. I am from Egypt. How you portrayed the police station and the police people, and for me, of course, coming from a country very reserved like Egypt, it's out of question that you can see these images. But I want to ask about the procedure itself, whether you found any problems with the police station after you did the film, and the impact the film did about the whole story and how they handled it afterwards.
Well, I think I'm one of the I'm one of the few filmmakers in the Philippines really very lucky with this kind of situation, because well, maybe because of the recognition that I've had with my previous work. So when I approach whatever, whoever the institution or whatever government institution, I can have an easy access. I didn't have any problem in terms of in terms of how the whole situation is connected in real life. In fact, I did Marosa even before this administration. I developed the story 4 years ago, so it's been like 5 years ago. 5 years ago before I finally was able to make it. So there was a situation before where I got a letter from the military and asking me to stop the construction of my set inside the camp, because I was doing a set inside the camp, military camp, because it's about the local kidnappers, story, and there were some military people who observed during my shoot, but I was able to to still do the scenes that I want, because they wouldn't know what we are doing on the set. So there's always a way to, and I told myself we're gonna deal with this when we see the film. I mean, when they see the film, but. Yes. Like what I do right now is that I don't talk to the lower ranks. I talk to the higher ranks, and I tell them that this is a situation, and I will tell them that we are not portraying you. We are portraying a group of people. It is not you that we are portraying. So they identify themselves, but I will always tell them it is the institution that I'm showing. It's not a particular personalities or a particular person. And I'm not trying to say something bad about you, but about the institution that you represent. So
But it helps to be also internationally recognized.
In a way, well, modesty aside, I think it does help, because sometimes they're also afraid that I might say something against them in public. So just to avoid that, okay, they let me do what I want to do. And they would say, nobody watch your films here anyway in the Philippines.
Another question? Yes.
Hello, I'm Annick Blanc. I'm a director and producer from Canada. I was wondering, because I totally understand when you say all about the realism, and it's all about the realism. But for me, your movie, there's also so much poetic. It's so poetic, especially more so in the earlier one with service, with the presence of the cinema and like the way we go through it, and the intensity of following the characters so long, the time it takes and all that. There's a lot of poesia. Is it just in my head, or?
It's part of the whole aesthetics. When I say realism or the action being naturalized, it's the whole situation that you put together. But of course, that's already our language. That's already the film language that you have to put in your filmmaking style is the poetic process. Yeah. So that's part of the whole process. That long takes, the metaphor, the representation, and the symbolisms and all that. Of course, that has to be, even in the script process, has to be already included.
I learned that the main actress in Marosa is a famous actress in Philippines. Doesn't it help a bit to promote the film to the audience, like the average audience?
Unfortunately not, because when they even these are like popular actors, they are portraying different roles that you see on television. So these are telenovelas. And you have we have an audience for these types of shows that are so different with what they portray. For instance, with my films, they are like the they are like the ordinary people that you see on the streets, and that they can easily identify themselves with. Unlike, for instance, on television, they daydream and they fantasize about them being those characters, and it's so different. So
Hi, my name is Hind, and I'm from Qatar. I'm a director. I wanted to ask you, earlier you mentioned, the actors mentioned that you never actually gave them a script.
Yeah.
And in my very limited experience, I find that with TV and theater actors, that was kind of the best thing to do because of, they don't get to practice and overact.
Yes.
Do you do that in all of your films, or was it just this one in
no,
particular?
all my films. The script that I have is really developed like for like a very well structured script with dialogues and all, but I don't provide them. The scripts because I don't want them to read and memorize their lines. So it's like our Bible, but only the production people have, the director, assistant director, production designer, and everyone else have. But the actors, we don't provide them that. I don't tell them what will be their fate will be in the film, because I don't want them to psychologically prepare. Because no matter how good you are, I mean, even if you're an expert in this field, even Isabelle Huppert was shocked when I told her, I cannot provide you the script. I mean, she's worked with the best directors in the world, and she's always given the script. But then when she arrived in Manila, I said, I cannot, provide you the script. And but what will I do? I mean, but you're kidnapped, and what will you do if you are being kidnapped, or if you are like in the middle of the jungle? So it's the most natural thing for you to do whatever you feel like doing. You feel like running away or shouting, and she was in this kind of condition, so she just reacts naturally. So it's the same thing with the rest of my cast. Even if they are real professional actors, I don't provide them the scripts, so that I always believe in the instinct, the natural reaction, because at the end of the day, even if you're a professional actor, you're still a human being, and as a human being, we have this natural way of reacting to things. Even on the set, I would give them the situation, but it's not the whole thing that will happen on the set. There will be surprises. There will be like somebody will be entering the set, which is not part of the whole choreography or something will happen on the set, like maybe a glass will break, or and that instinct, that reaction that I would like them to have. So that's what I'm trying to capture as well. Oh. Yeah, and she won.
And Isabelle Huppert, she actually enjoyed working this way.
I'm Daniel, I'm director from Brazil. Do you shoot in the order of the script? Because that's something that Like if the actors don't know where they're going.
Yes, yes. I mean, in this kind of filmmaking style, you have to shoot sequential or chronologically, because it helps the actors, you know, to discover their character along the way, and not only the actors, even the whole production staff and everyone else. You know, you are. I think the filmmaking process is like bringing you to something. You know, it's bringing you to something like the ending of the films. You are all together, you know, discovering everyone else character. So like the journey, it becomes even more meaningful. I mean, the filmmaking process becomes even more meaningful because you are reaching a certain stage where this is the end of the film, so this is the end of the, you know. Like in my film Captive with Isabelle Huppert, there were a lot of kidnapped, victims there, and they know when they're going to die. But eventually, some of them or all of them will die, but they don't know when and in what states of the film that they will die. So they keep on asking me, or sometimes secretly they will ask the productions people, will I be killed today? You know, and they don't, and nobody could tell them, and nobody will tell them. But, you know, because of that, it gives them that kind of, you know, nervousness and feeling not at ease, tension. And they will tell me, director, I don't know how to swim, so please don't throw me on the sea or so, and they're handcuffed and all this. So, you know,
which also implies that you do not rehearse.
Yes, I seldom rehearse. If I have but this is one thing that I do in all my films. I always have 3 camera setups all the time. So I have the close-up, I have the medium shot, and I have the full shot of all the scenes. And if I don't like the scene, we do another take, but on a different camera angle. So during the editing, I can make, you know, I don't know, I might be able to make use of some shots that, you know, initially are not important, or maybe I don't feel like they're, you know, useful. But during the editing, when I watch the whole thing together, like there was this scene in Ma Rosa, where I asked them to, you know, I asked them to improvise, and then they did a lot of improvisation, but I didn't like it. I said it's too much, it's overacting. So can you do another version where, you know, just act naturally? But then when I was watching it in the editing, the one that is not underact seems so, you know, it doesn't work. So I have to combine the two shots. So. Because you can only decide in the editing when you put and see and watch all the scenes together with the 3 camera. So it helps.
To follow this, speaking about 3 cameras, because
please introduce yourself.
Sorry, I'm Jana Wehbi. I'm from Lebanon. Because it was really, I got really interested by the way you film. Because when I started to watch the film, I thought it might be a documentary first, and then I saw the choices in the shots that you made. And from this movie that you showed us, so I suppose that there's no written shot list. There's no written shot list. So how can you work with like the cinematographers? How can you make them enter in the rhythm that you want? And how basically can you guarantee that you're gonna have the film that you want with no script given to the actors, with no rehearsals, with no shot lists, and with all these people and all these elements? And you are everywhere. I mean, like, you are an artisan. I saw you interfering, like the wardrobe, interfering in the decor. So how can you guarantee you're gonna get the film that you want?
I don't know. It's really very challenging, but I know, you know, in my mind, I know I'm gonna get an even more interesting film at the end of the day, more than what I am thinking, more than what I have in my mind. You know, that's my ultimate, I think, a thought when I make a film. You know, it's the discovery every day. You know, you discover. I think that's what makes it even more interesting and exciting at the same time. This endless learning and discovering of new things, and not only from yourself but for everyone, because there is respect. There is respect with everyone concerned on the set, from the DOP who I've been using for the longest time. And I think it's important for you to, as a team and a team leader, to have a group of your own. Your own DOP, your own production designer, who have the same wavelength, who thinks the same as you do, and who have the same commitment and passion like what you have. Like it's the 100% commitment with your project. It's not easy to have and to find these people, but along the way you're gonna meet and discover people that they're not gonna be your teammates. It's gonna be a very difficult and sometimes painful process that you have to endure and that you have to accept. And that's reality. People will just come in and just leave. But what is important is that you have a goal and that you have a focus as a filmmaker. I think that's one thing that you must have as filmmakers. That's one thing that shouldn't be taken away from you. It's like it's your mark. Everyone else will have their commitment with your project, but not the same thing as your commitment. It's not like 150% commitment, like what you do with your project, like what you have with your project. So, yes. So you should develop a team, okay? And this team should be with you, and you have to take care of them as well. You have to take care of them. You have to take care, like for instance, with the films that I make, not everyone else is being paid the way they should be paid, but I still work in advertising. So I bring them along with me. When we work in advertising, everyone makes money. And I make sure that everyone makes money, in a short period of time. So you develop the loyalty. So as filmmakers and our directors should know, just to share this with you, it's not just about creating. At least, with the situation right now that we have, it's not only about us, making film, but it's about the people who are with us while making a film that will make your film happen. So it's important to have, these people around you.
Hi, I'm Kate from South Africa, I'm a producer. Could you talk a little bit about your editing process? Because I imagine it must be fascinating because you're almost rediscovering the story again. Yes. And you must have a lot of footage, so I imagine it's also time consuming.
It is. Like what I said a while ago, it's a process that I really have to devote my time. So it's like watching the film all over again. So the script process where you develop the script is like, it's not completely throwing it away, but it's a thing of the past already. Because what you capture, if you were able to capture what you want to show, in your footage, okay, you can only find that and you will only see that in your editing. Sometimes the intention in the script is not what you were able to, to get because of the spontaneity that I've been doing, and I wanted to discover. So sometimes, the direction, it doesn't go this way, it goes that way. But to make sure that even it goes on the other way, it becomes better, not the way. And early on, I also accepted the fact that you cannot have everything. You cannot have the perfect film that you have in your mind. But you can always have the good film. You can always have a good film that you can be proud of because you've worked hard for it. We all achieve for perfection. We all want perfection. But there is no such thing as perfect film. Okay? There is no such thing as perfect film. When I watch my film after the editing and during the premiere, when I was watching my film in competition and I was seated with my actors, and I should have taken that scene away, I shouldn't included that. I should have shot something else. And this is my, these are my thoughts while watching the film.
Generally, how much time do you spend in the edit?
Oh, about 3 to 4 months. But it's really like, and well, just to share with you, I use post-production house, but most of the offline stuff are done in my house. So I have like almost like an in-house editor who works with me 24 hours a day. We just like watch the footages together, and and we do this. I feed them. I serve lunch. I serve dinner. And we do this for like months together. Yeah. But Marosa was shot, for instance, in 10 days. I shot Marosa in 10 days. Yeah. Because the bulk of the expenses, and this is also one thing that I'd like to share with you, the bulk of the expenses of the production is during the production itself. So in order for us to save money, you have to spend a whole lot of times during the preparation. Like you go to the bottle, we're prepared, So I spend a huge amount of time in the pre-production stage, from my workshops to my actors, to the production design, to the location and everything else, the technical stuff, camera. Because on the set, I avoid talking to everyone. I avoid discussion. I avoid confrontations. It's like we don't discuss about shots anymore with my DOP, with my production designer, because these are the things that should have been prepared during the pre-production stage. So in the production stage, it's a lot easier for us. Everybody's like prepared. We are in the battlefield already. There's no time to look for your, for your weapon or for your stuff. You should have them with you. Okay, so everybody there is like prepared. So we just we talk less. We don't discuss, and we just shoot and shoot and shoot, and it's done. But I don't shoot like till late evening. The latest I shoot is about 10 p.m. So early pack up, and then we shoot early morning, like 6 o'clock in the morning, and that's it. And I spend another several months for the editing process. So in terms of percentage, you spend like, maybe 40% time you spend for your pre-production, 20% for your, for your production, and then another 40% for your editing.
Hi, I'm Vim from South Africa. I just want to ask, how do you balance crafting the images versus keeping the scenes authentic?
Keeping the scenes
authentic.
Authentic,
yeah.
Authentic,
so, making the images look beautiful versus keeping it real.
Okay. I think whatever is real is beautiful. If the scene is just that, I said there's like, that's why a while ago, there are things that we sometimes that we feel that are not easy to see, but that's how it is in the real life, So my idea is that I always try to be truthful without being pretentious. So, for instance, even with art direction, like I don't want to spend time thinking about my, how to balance the colors, etc., and the composition. It just should come naturally. It should come naturally. It shouldn't. It's like that. My DOP and my art director, we don't spend time discussing this is what we should do. This is how the shot should be, because this should be balanced. This should be formal, etc., etc. It should just flow naturally, And I think when you discuss about, for instance, with production design, when we talk about colors, when we talk about composition, when we talk about the palette that we're going to use, for the costume and from the location, I think it should be very clear already. It should be very clear already. With my DOP, it's basically it's my DOP and my production designer that really spend time with, in terms of discussion about, about the composition and all that. With my DOP, for instance, he knows that I don't want to use tripod. So the camera should be constantly moving all the time. And then in the movement along the way, because it's constantly moving, all the scenes, I mean, all the areas that they're gonna pass through while he's moving has to be designed in a way that what I want to see in the film, like the posters, etc. What should be put there, that long walk, that the wet road, and etc. etc. So that should be designed already.
More questions? Yes.
Bonjour. Moi, je suis Awa Traoré, je viens du Mali. Je suis réalisatrice et productrice.
Sorry. Say it again, sorry.
Je suis Awa Traoré, je viens du Mali. Réalisatrice et productrice documentaire. Et je suis très contente d'être à ce masterclass ce matin. Parce que en fait, je pense que moi, j'ai reçu beaucoup de leçons de la vie. Au-delà de leçons de cinéma, c'est vraiment des leçons de vie que vous nous donnez ce matin. Et précisément, la question de la persévérance dans ce qu'on fait dans la vie et de savoir ce qu'on veut surtout. Et je pense que c'est au-delà du cinéma, ça touche à la vie globalement. Et en voyant le film, le court-métrage que vous avez montré ce matin et les échanges qu'on vient d'avoir, je peux percevoir vraiment la sincérité qu'il y a derrière tout ça. Et finalement, je comprends en fait que nos films nous ressemblent nous-mêmes. Et ça, c'est une grande leçon pour moi. Maintenant, j'ai deux questions à vous poser par rapport en fait à la limite du documentaire et de la fiction. Parce que tel que vous nous présentez là, il y a pratiquement pas. Et un sujet que vous voulez traiter en documentaire, vous pouvez très bien le faire et le réussir en fiction. Et vice-versa. Et donc, s'il en existait une différence, j'aimerais que vous me dites où précisément se trouve la différence entre le documentaire et la fiction. Est-ce que c'est le choix du sujet? Est-ce que c'est la technique utilisée? Est-ce que c'est les moyens derrière? Où est la différence? Et vous avez aussi, dans vos échanges, parlé d'un quelque chose qui est que vous ne faites pas de compromis pour votre cinéma. Et ça a attiré mon attention parce que je vois aujourd'hui, surtout en Afrique, beaucoup de réalisateurs qui changent leur style de cinéma parce que ce qu'ils font n'intéresse pas les gens, pas parce que c'est pas bon, mais parce que tout simplement ça se vend pas. Et le compromis dont vous parlez ici, il s'agit de quoi précisément? Ce sont mes deux questions. Merci. Merci.
Well, the boundaries of documentary and fiction for me is not something that I really, that I am really thinking about. Because my aesthetics actually is founded on documentary. My film aesthetic is really founded on documentary, so that's where it came from, and the whole aesthetics that goes behind in doing documentary. That's what I'm trying to, put in my filmmaking style. The only difference I think is in terms of narrative. In documentary, you filmed, what interests you and what it gives you, without putting the fiction part, the narrative part in it, to have a particular kind of ending, and I think that's the only difference, because you are trying to, in as much as you also have a message in making a documentary, but in the narrative, in the fiction, I think the message has to be shot in a way that it is clearly, very clearly, legible in a way when you see it on the big screen. Okay, so the second part about changing the style, I think for me what should come first is the content more than the form. I mean, I don't mind, like for instance, I did a short film in Japan, and then my distributor told me, I saw a different Brillante Mendoza here. I mean, I didn't know that you can do such thing. I mean, I like your style. It's very poetic. I didn't know that you can create something. But then I didn't even intentionally did that, because the content is asking for that. The content is asking that it should be shot that way, because the content is about an old person, going back to Manila, and it's so old because he's illegal worker in Japan, and he will be deported in Manila after 30 years. So, he has a lot of things going on in his mind, and he is in Japan, and how how life is in Japan. So he's almost like a Japanese. So you have to film him in a way like he is like a Japanese already. And the content calls for that. Because he is in the middle of the snow, a person from a tropical country, and then you are in the middle of the snow. You live in this kind of setup for more than 30 years, and then suddenly one day you go back in your country, back to something that you've left 30 years ago, and you can no longer identify yourself. And in the Philippines, it's the complete contrast of Japan, where it's noisy, it's hot, it's humid, it's crowded. So the contents is asking for that. So that's how I shot it. I have to bring him back to reality, to where he is from. So that is always my thought. It's not about changing your style, but if the content is asking for it.
I was wondering, how do you, because you talk a lot about improvisation, but there's a lot of choreography also in your camera. How do you prepare for that? Do you go on location with your DOP, without the actors, you rehearse, or do you trust improvisation in that as well?
Okay, I only tell my DOP and my assistant director. And I would, for instance, in this situation, I would tell my actors, this is your space, but if you feel like going out, and I feel that I don't need to follow you in going out, then you can go out and just come back. So I'll give them the space where they can do their improvisation. But if they need to feel to leave, it's up to them. And they need to feel to come back, it's up to them. So I decide and my DOP decides.
And do you go with them in locations before and you really work?
Yes. I am very hands-on. From the script development up to the poster making and distribution. And that's how it is. In reality, that's how we should do it. I approve. Sometimes I design the poster myself, or because I don't have time, I'll ask somebody to, I'll do my sketch and give them the design of the poster and provide me 3 designs out of these designs that I did. Because otherwise I have to pay, a graphic artist who is so expensive, and so I can do it myself. And I deal with the distributor, right? I talk to the distributor. So it's my 100% involvement and commitment from the conception of an idea up to the time it's being distributed and being shown, in cinema.
the realism in the movie is in Morosa, is that same authenticity and realism in the script before? You know, the power that you have in your film, is that also in the script, or is the script so different? And
Well, this is also a discussion among us, with my scriptwriters and with my creative team. Sometimes there is just like one line that says, like for instance in the film, in the script it says the children, meaning the children, it says they try to find help from their relatives and friends. That's what it says. But it became one act of the film. One act. But in the script, it only says that. So 2 sentences. But in my mind, I was able to, I feel that I need to know and to see what they did and what they're going to do in order for them to get money. But of course, that's what the script is trying to say. Is to at the end of the day is to find money, and to bring the money to the parents. So I think it's also how to be more selective in terms of which scenes from the script that you have to really pursue. Sometimes there are in the description of the script you have like 2 pages, but you have to describe the whole area. So when I shoot it, those 2 or 3 pages, it will only take me like 10, 15 minutes to shoot it. Because I'm going to shoot it like, without any cut, one long take. Because I think in that description, the 3 pages description of the script, it was able, I'll be able to capture that moment, what he's trying to say with just one long take. So you just have to be very, very meticulous, and at the same time, see beyond what the script is saying. But also because I am very hands-on with the script, I know what the writer is trying to say, because I'm not literally the writer, but I am co-writing it in a way because it's my idea, it's my concept, it's my inspiration. I just have somebody to put all these things, together for me, so that I can just be reminded and see it from time to time.
So the script doesn't have dialogue?
It does have dialogue, but we don't need to follow the dialogue 100%. So dialogues are just like guides for my actors.
Okay, I think one more. Yes, maybe last one.
Yes, because this is for me really something very impressive that you mentioned that since 2005 you did 14 films. It's almost film a year. This is like
the times I did.
It's very like how you develop 2 or 3 scripts in the same time, and if it is the same team that is developing each script, and how often you sit with them, and because this is miraculous for me.
Yes, well, everybody says that, but I don't know if I am. But the truth of the matter is, I am just enjoying it every moment of the day. It's just that it's the idea of, when I go out and do research, it's just like I just love talking to people and listen to them, and I meet my staff and share it with them, and hopefully they will be, it will be contagious. The emotions that I have, it would affect them somehow, the way how it affects me. And I think I'm successful in that way. Well, now I have like 3 teams already. Like I have 3 writers doing it. Yeah, and I never, from day one that I started making films, I never really see it as something that is a work. It's really like a vacation for me. I go to the set almost like I'm always like scared and insecure, doing my first shot. But it's the same feeling that I have when I did it, 12 years ago. It's that what keeps me, that excitement of being unsure. But at the same time, when you are on the set, you know that you are doing the right thing. And at the end of the day, physically, I'm tired. But when I go home, everybody's like, you have this sense of fulfillment. I don't know if I'm sure some of you can understand what I'm trying to say, but that's how it is. That's how it. And
so the ultimate lesson is enjoy being filmmakers.
of course, it's filmmaking. It's life. It's life. This is our life. You just have to enjoy it.